Thanks, Neil. Good to be with you this morning. It does seem a little bit ironic, having been away for a few weeks ourselves with Lynn and myself in Vietnam, that I stand before you, I think, as almost the elder in residence today. We have Gaynor unwell, as Neil has mentioned. Jeff is preaching in Tumby Bay, so Leanne is, as you would expect with him. Nick and Robin are still travelling Australia and I think Southeast Asia, leaving their home here in Adelaide for Hamilton and Beck and family to use while they're doing a rebuilding program. So I'm the only one left, but I want to welcome you on behalf of all the elders, one of whom is here, and hope that you really sense God's blessing as you share with us today. As Neil has mentioned, we do have some who are unwell, some still not here. I want to take this opportunity to welcome Jeanette Boland, who's over from Victoria as a friend of Lorraine and all of us really, and she came over for my sister's 80th birthday celebrations, which we shared this past week. And if you feel like you want to stay for a cake, a piece of cake, not the whole cake, after the service, you'd be welcome to head through and join us as we celebrate the 80th. Can't imagine being that old, but maybe we'll get there. We'll get there soon. We've been in a series since February, March. The series has been on living for Jesus in 2025. As I said, I haven't been here every week, but during this series I've spoken on seeking first the kingdom of God, about our priorities in life as we live for Jesus. I spoke about the story of Nehemiah and his role in identifying a need, being burdened about the need, and then meeting the need as a guide for us in living for Jesus. Jess spoke last week to us about the Good Samaritan and the teaching as who is the one, who is the neighbour to the one who was attacked. And I rather suspect, having talked to Jeff this week, the people in Tumby Bay are getting that same message today, which is what he's able to do. Today I'm talking about, as we live for Jesus, about finding rest. You know, when we meet people, sometimes for the first time, we might be sitting around at dinner around a table. Do we ever ask someone what they do to rest? I suspect no. We'd normally ask someone, well, tell me, what do you do for work? Who you support in footy or sport? What are your hobbies? But I think we're unlikely to ever ask a person, what do you actually do to rest? You know, there's a simple verse of 8 words that we get in Psalm 46, verse 10, and that says, "Be still and know that I am God." 8 words, but it's not a bad little message for us to think about when we're challenged with the thought, what do we do for our rest? I think it's worth understanding the context of that verse, because in Psalm 46, in verse 1, we read the words, "God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble." In verse 2 it says, "Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea." Verse 3 says, "Though the waters roar and foam and the mountains quake with their surging." And verse 6, "Nations are in uproar, kingdoms fall." Then we get verse 10. Be still and know that I am God. The context for that passage is rest, be still, know that I am God amongst all the uncertainty that is happening as listed in those prior verses. Can I say today our context is pretty similar. Our world is filled with uncertainty. There are a lot of scary things that might happen. The very earth underneath us might quake at any moment. Here in Australia, we can be subject to cyclones, floods, fires, droughts. We might get a terminal health diagnosis for ourselves or a family member. We might lose our job to a recession, or we can have an impact of our family involved in a car accident. We might innocently walk into and be affected by a terrorist or a criminal activity. We're not immune. These are scary things, and the uncertainty of life is enough by itself to show that we do need to find rest in God. But then there are other issues, other reasons. We can deal with our personal guilt, worry about our failings and our shame. That can bring us stress and striving. We deal with anxiety over many of the decisions, the options that we need to make as we work through our choices. We can deal with distractions from social media, all the text messages, the news stories, the internet ads. The reality is we seldom have I'm not there yet, I'm there. We seldom have a quiet moment. And when we do, we often fill that moment with music, a Netflix show, or a podcast. We need rest. We need rest in our lives, a call to stop worrying over what we can't control, and to be still and know, as the verse says, that I am God. We're invited to find rest by stepping back from the world's distractions and being still and focusing on God. The verse from Psalm 46:10 is just one verse, but we have other passages that also talk to this. One of the best known passages, of course, is the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. In green pastures, he makes me lie down. To still waters he leads me. He restores my soul. If we're living for Jesus, as we're living for Jesus in 2025, can we think of reclining on that green grass beside those still waters? A verse in Exodus 33:14, Moses is, during the wilderness journey, given a message from God: my presence will go with you and I will give you rest. God's unwavering presence and assurance of rest and peace for those who follow his leading. And Isaiah 40 verse 31, those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. I think we see the rest in God as not a lying down passively, but it's a restoration of strength and endurance as we rest and be still and wait on him. But more than those verses, I think the words of Jesus himself are there before us for our message this morning. Beautiful words spoken by Jesus. Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Don't know if you remember, it was common for us to have an ad in our media about embracing what's light and easy. That was actually a commercial for suppliers of food, said to be healthy food, convenient food. It was rated for some time, may still be, I don't know, as Australia's best ready-made delivery service. Why would you use light and easy? It's got weight loss as a feature, meals designed with your goals in mind, it's convenience. It's for those with an active lifestyle, or it can be used for home care packages. That was the call our media gave us to embrace what's termed light and easy. Do you want something light and easy? I'm not offering food today, but Jesus gives us two commands to embrace what's light and easy. The first is, "Come unto me," and the second is, "Take my yoke." Two commands for our lives, for us to find rest as we live for Jesus in 2025. Firstly, come unto me, stop looking for it in lazy Saturdays, in overeating or binge TV programs, or in weekend partying. Stop looking for it in our commitment to work or politics or sport or even family. I thought it was interesting, Lynn and I went to a memorial, a commemoration service for Senator, the Honourable Dr. Rosemary Crowley yesterday. We went because we were invited, because although she died a couple of weeks ago, she was about 30 years a patron of our netball club at Contacts. So we knew her well. She attended many functions, and we were asked to attend, and one of our number, Catherine Harvey-Williams, had the opportunity to speak about recognising her contribution to women in sport. But I couldn't help thinking, as this whole program went on and most of the speakers were politicians, how everything was focused on the contribution to the Labor movement. It was all about politics, as though that was the be-all and the end-all of someone's life. And I think our call here in finding rest in Jesus is not looking for it in just a single-minded political obsession, not looking for it in our commitment to work or even in sport, even though the Crows and the Power had big wins. Let's not, Cameron, you can be happy you won this week. You didn't last week, but we can enjoy that, or even in our family. These things can distract us from the only one who can truly give rest, soul rest. Jesus invites us to come to him for rest. Secondly, he talks about taking my yoke. When we think of a yoke, we perhaps think of that image. two bulls, maybe two cows, tied together, yoked together with a yoke that does three things perhaps. It restricts their movements because they're bound to each other. It brings them into subjection because by being bound to each other, then they're being forced to walk a path, to carry a burden, or to pull a burden behind them. And by being yoked in that way, I guess there is a relationship, almost a commitment to each other. You see, we can easily develop this thinking to being yoked together in marriage. Sometimes being very pleased with that relationship, in some instances, unfortunately, not so positive. But have you ever thought about, when you think of taking my yoke, we've already thought of the first command, come unto me. When he calls us to take his yoke, have you ever thought what that might be, to take on the yoke of being bound in a relationship with Jesus? If we want something that is light and easy, that's our call. Take my yoke, the yoke of being restricted, embraced, and being committed to a relationship with Jesus. We're free to choose in our lives to be yoked to anything we choose, but we're free to choose to be yoked to Christ, because his yoke is easy and his burden is light. It's his invitation for us today. I don't have too much else to add because I'm looking forward to sharing with you in the 80th birthday cake. But can I say, we experience real rest when we stop striving to find refreshment in all the wrong places. We need to yield to the purpose for which God created us. This sets us free to refuse to take on the yokes that the world tries to give us. We no longer need to be the people pleaser who refuses to say no, or to be afraid to speak the truth when that's required. We no longer need to be the perfect mum or the perfect partner or the workaholic or someone who is focused on our looks or our weight. Those are burdens that come not from Jesus but from the world. When we come to Jesus, we experience the freedom from oppressive yokes and the freedom to live out who God has called us to be. The freedom for a lifestyle that is light and easy in the way we are called to live for Jesus in 2025. His yoke is easy and his burden is light. So what yoke are you carrying today? Are you carrying a yoke maybe of fatigue or worry or sadness? Are you carrying a yoke of rebellion from sin? Or a yoke of ignorance, not being sure what you believe? Are you carrying the yoke of trying too hard? Feeling hard done by? Not being loved enough? Being pressured to do more at work? Maybe issues affecting your mental health? your well-being. My response is this: stop worrying. Wouldn't you rather be yoked to Jesus than have all of those other world yokes dragging you down? Resting in the Lord is a frequently used expression in the Bible. We started in Psalms and we've worked through the words of Jesus calling us to come unto him. It refers to rest from confusion, worry, stress, useless human effort, and a break from everything that binds us. And the good news in the New Testament is that everyone who believes in Jesus can simply come to him and enter his rest. As believers, we're not granted immunity from life's storms. Our natural tendency and response might be to run around frantically looking for ways to deal with that, trying to save ourselves. We can waste our time worrying or trust in the Lord and rest in him. Come unto me, says Jesus, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So right here and now, as we conclude our service, as we quiet ourselves, let's be still and surrender ourselves to the Lord, to his care. We can see him today as being high and lifted up. We see him as sovereign over the whole earth, over our lives, and over everyone and everything that would come against us, everything that would burden us and bind us down. We can resolve today to let everything else go, every other yoke pass us by, and to be still. Come to him, take his yoke, and rest in him. Shall we pray?